3 ways you can reduce future required minimum distributions. All right, so a lot of people, partly my own fault, Roth conversions, and Roth conversions are wonderful. But remember, I was talking to this guy yesterday, and he had a lot of money in his pre-tax stuff, like $3 million. No money in his Roth, or a little bit, not much, and a little bit of money in his post-tax account. And so the premise is, oh man, we got to get that money from our pre-tax money into the Roth. And that's what a lot of people think. And I'm like, hold on, Daddy-O. Let's see what else we can do here. One of the strategies, of course, do Roth conversions. That way we can reduce our future RMDs. So that completely makes sense without question. But remember, there's other ways we can do this. The premise that we're trying to accomplish the Roth conversion isn't the end game. The end game is to reduce our IRAs so that way when we hit 75, we have less RMDs, and especially if we're married, so then when we hit 85 and die, our wives aren't stuck or our husbands aren't stuck with massive amounts of required distributions and no longer being married finally jointly. All right, so the premise the end game isn't the Roth conversions. That's just a feature, if that makes sense, or not, whatever. It's just a tool to get the money out of the IRA. So this guy, I want to say 61, I think 61, anyway, 60, I can't remember. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start pulling $200,000 a year from his pre-tax account. $50,000 is going to the Roth, and the $150,000 he's going to live on, all right? Because he needs money to live on. He needs money. He doesn't have enough to live on, so he needs money. He needs about $12,000 a month. That's all inclusive, and he's got some significant medical issues. So, a good portion of his expenses are going to be going to medical. So he needs about $12,000 a month to live on. So when all is said and done, we're going to pull $150,000 out that he's going to spend on his money to live on. That includes taxes, and $50,000 is going to go to his Roth. All right, so $200,000 a year is being coming out of his IRA. And he's going to do that until he takes Social Security. I think it was 67 for him. I can't remember. But anyway, so when he's 67, all right, that'll be 7 years of pulling $200,000 a year out. 200 times 7, my P-brain works, is $1.4 million. That comes out of his IRA. Before he's even on Social Security, never mind required minimum distributions. All right, so there's a strategy here that says we're going to do Roth conversions, but we're going to live on that money as well. All right, and that's the way to do it. Again, Roth isn't the primary end game. The primary end game is to get the money out. So $1.4 million goes out, all right, until he's 67. And now what happens at 67? Well, Social Security will kick in. Let's say, for simplicity, $50,000 a year, but it'd be more than that. But just use that for a number. And he's still going to be doing Roth conversions to another $50,000 a year, roughly, because now he only needs $100,000 to live on. Does that make sense? So now he's going to be doing $200,000. $50,000 goes to $150,000. $100,000 goes to his Roth. $100,000 he uses to live on. $50,000 goes to his Roth. And so by the time he's 75, basically the bulk of his 401k will be reduced. Now remember, every time you pull money out of a IRA, it does two things. It reduces that money that's in there, obviously, part one. Part two, though, is it reduces the growth. It ends the growth in that money. This is such a big strategy, man. Not only are you reducing the money that's in there, but you're ending the growth on that. So you're limiting any growth that can further enhance the future RMDs. That's a big deal. So we got one is Roth conversion, obviously. Two is the spending money to live on. And then the third one, I talk to this people all the time. I say, why don't you start giving away? Now, until you're on 70.5, you can't start using qualified charitable distributions in that regard. But you can still take the money out and pay tax on it and give it to your kids. I cannot stress to you how many people, I'll just leave it to my kids. Like, yeah, but your kids don't need it when you're dead. They'll be 68 at that point. I mean, they'll need it, don't get me wrong. But, what if you could give it to them now? And they could use that money to down payment on a house. Yeah, you got to pay tax on it. I grant you, but you don't have to pay tax on the gift, and your kids don't have to pay tax on the receiving end either. They can take that money and use that for a down payment. They can take that money and use it to put kids in school. A million different things they can do with the money. Don't overlook gifting as a strategy. Even though it's not a fancy charitable qualified distributions, whatnot, you can still give to your kids. Yeah, I mean, you got to pay tax on it, but remember, you're not getting away from the tax anyway. The only way to get away from the tax is to actually give the money outright to a charitable entity, especially when you're 70.5 or above. Because even if you give it to a charitable entity below the age of 70.5, all you're getting is you're getting a deduction, and that doesn't necessarily. It's not the same. You still got flows back to your 1040, and you still got to have a deduction for the money you give away. It's not nearly as beneficial as a QCD, which means the money doesn't even flow to your 1040, which is fantastic. I don't want to get that too deep here now, but so the three things here. Yeah, absolutely Roth conversions, 100%. Number two is to live off the money. Live off the money, absolutely. And number three, of course, is just give it away before you hit RMDs. And those are three great ways to reduce your RMDs for the future. Reduce the widow's tax trap, reduce the amount of taxable income you're leaving to your kids, and it gives you something to live off as well. And reduce the growth of your IRAs too. Love your thoughts. Don't forget to like, and God bless. We'll see you.